third wave, fourth wave feminism essentially wants to create kind of this perfect individual, someone who's like free from the conditions of their society and the conditions of patriarchy or whatever structures that surround this individual need to be shed, because you're not really free if you're tied to like traditions or tied to obligations to your family or things like that. And a lot of things that they attribute to the patriarchy are essentially things that are nature, are the fact, that women give birth, that they're, more, they bond with the baby and at a, higher level. There's all sorts of hormones. There's all sorts of things that are very specific to the female life cycle. um, you know, uh, Fertility, all sorts of things that, people don't really like to discuss because they're constraining. And if you ask, a third or fourth wave feminist, they're going to be like, oh, it's a patriarchy constraining women. They want to see women barefoot and pregnant. They want to see us as, as breeding mares. But the problem is that they confuse the patriarchy with nature itself, and they really want to ignore this aspect of the human female, because it's kind of it's incontestable. You can't really fight it out with nature. It's, this is a human female, these are the parameters, there are things she can do, there are things she can't do. But this is something that this egalitarianism that's baked really deeply into the cake of these kind of later stages of feminism, it just can't allow. And another factor that comes into here is the fact that, after the 1950s, once, women got into the workforce, the economic conditions also shifted in a way that, having two people working was almost necessary to have a household. So feminism kind of reconstituted, because a lot of times people think, women, wanting to be girl bosses and wanting to lead the market and whatever Fortune 500 is a feminist initiative. But it's also the other way around. Like, you needed to work, and then feminism came in and kind of provided the theory of why this is a good thing. But after a while, I think it was kind of in the 1970s, productivity dropped so much that women needed to work. So it's kind of, feminism just provides the story why this is empowering. But it's not necessarily empowering, because if you look at the lives of many women, they would definitely opt out if they could.
Right. And speaking about women opting out in terms of the narrative of patriarchy, I mean, I did watch like a Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the former Supreme Court judge who had died. I watched her documentary, which I know was propaganda, but I do think that, she had fought against like women not being allowed to go to law school or have certain jobs. And I think that's an actual issue that occurred. However, if you blame everything on like patriarchy and you frame everything as what men want, and you're describing women wanting to opt out, it seems as if no one actually cares what women may want. And so like if there's like nature and there are certain inclinations that a woman might have due to nature, then maybe there are certain things she might want, like having families or not being in the workforce or stuff like that. And I mean, I guess I'm just agreeing with you, but I want to point out that if you're always looking at patriarchy, then you're actually not focusing on what women want either. Like, it's not just about men. It's like, what do women actually want? And does that agree with your theory of third wave or fourth wave feminism, as opposed to actual possible barriers to equality? Like, I know then, like they only make it equal in some ways, and, you ignore inequalities against men, like in the court system or going to war. So I'm saying that, understanding that even though they say equality, they're also ignoring a lot of things that are not good for men. But I do think that those were legitimate issues. But then when it comes to the current third wave, fourth wave feminism, I think that they ignore what women might want